Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
This is a special episode for me personally. Welcome to the Software People Stories. This marks 300 episodes of the Software People Stories. The journey has been very enriching, but more of that in a few weeks when we complete 6 years of the podcast. In addition, the guest today is a person who has been my mentor and also whose qualities, both technically and as a leader, I admire. I'm in conversation with Gunaseelan Narayanan, known as Guna. Guna is an executive coach with a long career in IT before that. In this conversation, he talks about the two significant phases of his career, starting with FORTRAN programming and transitioning into microprocessors, his career at HCL, the only company he was associated with throughout his long career, shifting to creating user-focused solutions and telecom areas, and about gaining experience with multinational partnerships. Listen on. Hi Guna, welcome to the Software People Stories.
Hi, Shiv. I'm happy to be here with you on Software People Stories.
Yeah, I'm eager to hear your story, even though I've been working closely for some time. I don't think I know much about the origins and how you started and what the various things that you have done. We just heard a lot of, corporate stories about how some of these things happened, but probably getting it directly from you. So if you can start with a brief introduction and how you got into IT and then how your trajectory has been.
Yeah, I'll be happy to share my story. See, I have been in the information technology industry. Rather, I was in the information technology industry for over 30 years. And I would say the first half, roughly 15 plus years, was, developing software for computers and communication systems made in India. And I would say the second half was primarily working on providing engineering and R&D services for global customers. So basically, first half was basically manufacturing oriented, computers made in India, computers and allied systems made in India. And second part was providing IT services, I mean, the umbrella term, but primarily software development for global customers, whether it is computers or networking technology, telecom, aerospace, medical, and so on. So that was the big picture. Getting into computers. So I did my BTech electrical engineering in IIT Madras. So in my third year or so, the computer center was established in IIT. So IBM 370 mainframe computer center came into IIT. So they started promoting programming in the institute. So there was a computer club, and many of the undergraduates and of course other students also joined the club, and we learned FORTRAN programming. And as you may remember, At that time, the most popular book was FORTRAN Programming by Professor Rajaraman.
I was going to
So
ask
that was the Bible. And we wrote programs, punched cards using IBM key punch machines. I mean, using that, key punch was a delight, making punched cards and submitting in the computer center and, getting the results print out and so on was very exciting.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I thought maybe I should get into computers. So I had the opportunity to do a master's in computer science, again from IIT. That's how I got into computers.
But from in those days, doing these punch cards and all that, and getting into developing the software for the hardware, like you mentioned, how was that transition?
Yeah, good question. See, I had some experience in my final year project itself.
Mhm.
See, at that time, the 8-bit microprocessors were getting introduced, right? Intel 8085 and Motorola Zilog ZIT. So those microprocessors were introduced, and we were taught, these microprocessors in the course. So we did programming on, Intel 8085 primarily, and Zilog ZIT, similar instruction set, and we had, assemblers running on IBM mainframe, so we could try out programs and so on. Then for my project, 3 of us worked on a project, and 2 of them developed the hardware based on a Intel 8085 motherboard.
Okay.
And I wrote the software for it.
Okay.
Okay. So the project was to connect this system to IBM mainframe and transfer data entered into this Intel 8085 system to mainframe. So that involved programming Intel 8085 as well as running a program on the computer mainframe. They had, huge communication software. I don't recall the names as of now, but on the Intel side, we had the 8273 microcontroller with synchronous communication. For IBM, we had to use the SDLC protocol, synchronous communication protocol. So I had the experience in writing large assembly language programs for 8085 and debugging it on the small toolkit, and so that was my introduction to using microprocessor hardware. Okay. Then, so I after doing my post-graduation, I joined Hindustan Computers. Okay. In R&D, Delhi. So the attraction at that time was that they were, for their second generation system, they were using 8085 microprocessor.
Okay.
They already had a product called 8C and a second version called 8CR, I think. And next one called System 2 was based on Intel 885.
I think there was one BCB, right? Was that later or?
BCB is IBM compatible.
Okay.
Yeah. Prior to that, we had System 2 that had a trolley kind of system with floppy drives and so on.
Okay.
Whereas the next generation was Workhorse, which was very much, lookalike of IBM PC with, 5.25-inch floppy drive and so on. That was called Workhorse. So that was promoted as, you may recall, a typist can operate computers, right? So it had a word processing software and so on.
And so when you had to do that in those days, did you have specs given when you say typist can use it? How did you understand the needs of the user, then create solutions?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I will talk about, user inputs and specification a little later. Before that, I would say I'll talk about what we did initially on Intel 885. So I was part of a team writing a FORTRAN compiler.
Oh, okay.
So again, the FORTRAN Intel 885 all put together, writing a FORTRAN compiler for a 885 based system.
Yeah.
So basically, the hardware is getting developed, and in parallel, we had started writing the FORTRAN compiler. So compiler, as you know, the specification is standard, right? So the language is very well defined, and use that and start writing. So that was my first project. Okay. Now, thinking of the customer input. So the R&D, the core R&D was making only the computers and the required operating system, any compilers, and so on. The end user application was developed by a different department. Okay. But then my, customer-based solution on computers made by HCL, that happened from somewhere, about 6-7 years of experience. After 6-7 years of experience, so the first was to take over a PABX developed by the communication division of HCL. And HCL by that time became HCL Limited with multiple divisions, photocopier, what we call reprographics division, and then communication division and so on. So again, the interesting thing was this was based on 8085. The coding was done by the hardware folks. So they had directly entered machine code into the system and all that. So we took over this, and then so documented by disassembling the code. Okay. Yeah. And for the next generation system, that was based on Intel 8088. For that, I wrote the complete specification. So we had reference systems like imported PABX systems, and at that time CDOT was also developing PABX. So I designed the operator interface, and then wrote the complete specification, and I managed the software development for the system. That was the first product was called Stallion. The second product was called Stallion 2. That's 256 port system, extendable to 512 port. It was quite a success.
And you also were involved in working with a multinational, right? The partnership, and how was that experience of the HCL homegrown culture and the multinational culture coming together?
Yeah. See, what the customer was valuing the R&D experience. Okay. And our exposure to international standards and, culture, getting used to international culture came about because of the HCL Hewlett Packard joint venture. So we had VP R&D coming from HP. Okay. So we had R&D in Noida as well as Chennai, and he was VP. So we actually initially we were working on only HCL products, and over a period, 1 or 2 years, we started interacting with HP labs, in the US and Singapore, and with guidance from our boss. So we know what kind of R&D is happening globally, and how to interact with the R&D engineers, managers, and so on. Now, coming to HCL Technologies, mid-90s, so the customer was valuing our R&D experience. So we know how to develop system software, the so-called system software. We've got good, experience in writing operating systems, internet networking software, because we also had Unix implementation, HCL's own implementation of Unix with all internet communication software and so on. So that is one thing the customer valued, and of course, it takes time to get used to the culture, in the sense that we have to work remotely. Unlike in the HCL HP days, where we had small teams, here we had to set up the labs in India and scale up the teams and continue to deliver to the customers' expectations.
This was the pre-internet days, right?
Come again?
Pre-internet days.
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, internet in India.
Early.
Yeah, but we had links directly to the customer. Initially, of course, we had low speed links, but soon, by 2000, we had high speed links. Yeah.
But what about the collaboration tools that everybody takes for granted today? So
we may not have had the sophisticated tools we have today, but then the customer had their own development environment, tools, the corresponding documentation, training programs, and so on. So we had to ensure that we train the engineers before they get inducted, and of course that the team leader has to ensure the quality, timely delivery, and more importantly, interact with the customer regularly and respond. I mean, the culture, when you talk about the culture, the email response as well as telephone calls and the quick response and things like that. Those are the things that helped. But of course, today they would have a much more sophisticated systems. Of course, even the ticketing systems were there to report bugs and so on. But then today they might be a lot more integrated.
What about overall understanding the status with this distributed team and the code bases and new engineers coming in? How was the visibility into what is happening available for either the team or the leaders?
Yeah. So the understanding, see, basically the first thing is that the team should understand the technology. And if I talk about the first customer, which remained as the largest customer for many years, maybe more than 10 years. So first, they were also working on different technology, but of course, underlying technology is internet working. So whenever we work with the department, I mean, we should understand their products, the hardware, as well as the corresponding technology they are using. Like for example, at that time, after a few years, voice over IP was a new technology that was getting introduced and so on. So whenever we enter a new technology, initially, some of the senior people travel to the customer location, spend some time, understand, then come back and train the people. So at the project manager level, the visibility is very good. And in fact, for one division, we had a very large software system. And most of the work was done from here. And the visibility and understanding again was excellent. I mean, again, the collaboration levels may vary between divisions. So when the large part of the project is being done here, so a lot of information is shared. Of course, I mean, most of the documentation is available online. So that is one thing we need to appreciate the customer, that our teams had access to any documentation that is relevant for the project was accessible to them. And again, the relationship also, so the senior executives made it a point to travel to India once a year, and recognize the top performers and so on. So that was really motivating to the team, and that helped us grow rapidly.
So how was your own experience of transition from a technical individual contributor, you said you did compiler, all that, to a leader handling both the customer, the teams, and some business aspects and so on? I asked him about the transition to leadership roles from being an individual contributor. The answer to that and many more interesting stories, don't miss the next episode.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People Stories.
If you like this episode,
please subscribe on your favorite podcast client
and spread the word in your network.
If you'd like to share your story,
contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.